Hello, this is Tony Blazer, back with another set of burning thoughts on the week's race. This one's going to cover last night's race in Tampa, Florida. I've always had a kind of a hit or miss opinion on these Florida races. Seems like sometimes the tracks are a little dicey. It seems like the turnout's not always great. Kind of a weird situation considering so many riders live in Florida. But last night's race, I had high hopes for it, seeing the track map and then watching practice. It looked like a neat track. I love that big sand section. Looked like it might be pretty cool, but I don't think it really translated to great racing in the night. The only thing that really kind of mixed things up was that sand section because it would cause people to have some mistakes. The rest of the track, I guess, was pretty basic, and it didn't turn out to be that great for racing. Certainly nothing like we saw in Oakland or some of the other rounds we've had. I don't think it was a terrible track, but it was, to me, it was kind of uninspiring and not that exciting to watch in the end, which disappointed me. Like I said, I had high hopes for it. It really didn't pan out. As far as the results go, certainly a great night for Tomac. Took the points lead. He was 1 point, I think, coming into it, and ended up coming out, I don't know, he's 2 or 3 probably ahead now. And really it's a solid season for him so far. He has not had any of those big major get-offs or anything, other than maybe 1 or 2 rounds where he was like only maybe so-so. No major disasters, no problems, and it's put him in the points lead. And it's the good thing, though, is second and third are still real close. Cooper pulled a few points on Roczen last night, lost a few to Tomac, but they're all 3 in the race still, which is great. I love the fact that we have such a great battle up front, and I hope it's going to continue happening the rest of the way. It's been a phenomenal season so far. I haven't had some of the first-time winners I thought I was going to have, mentioning, of course, AC, who was the fastest in practice for like the 7th time in a row, which is just amazing. You'd think that if you keep winning the practice, you would probably translate that into winning the main, but he hadn't been able to do that so far. I guess it's kind of the same old thing with AC. Adam has blazing speed, but something always goes wrong. Last night, he had another one of his patented get-offs. At least he's not getting hurt. Thank God for that. It does worry me, though. If you hit the ground enough times, it's going to hurt you eventually. As all of us who ride ourselves know, that there's only so many times you can crash and not have something go wrong. So I hope Adam pulls it together. I really thought he'd have a win by now, especially after he rode so well at the first round. And again, so fast. He's just showing that blazing speed, just, teasing us all with that crazy AC speed, but it just hasn't turned into wins so far. Last night, I would say, was a solid night for Cooper Webb. I would like to have him get the win. I was pulling for him to get the win last night, going into the event, make it 2 in a row, and kind of really tighten up the title battle. But he didn't get quite the start that Eli Tomac did. And like I said, the track seemed like it was hard to pass on. I mean, again, these guys, all the guys are going fast. I wouldn't expect any of them to cut through the whole pack like a knife through butter like the old Bubba days. I think the parity's a little closer than it was back then, but I thought he'd, get to the front a little faster, but it seemed to take him a while. But he did get second, which is great. AC kind of gave him and Roczen a little bit of a present there, but still, second place points is great. Roczen, another guy, same thing, kind of a mediocre start. Got up to third eventually. Again, kind of probably should have been fourth, but be that as it may, had that little tip over in the corner. The track looked really treacherous. That's part of the problem. Was the obstacles themselves, I don't think were tough, but it seems like the dirt was getting very slick and shiny in places, and that's where he kind of tucked the front end, kind of cost him his any kind of shot at getting second. Still, not a terrible night. I mean, he lost the red plate, which is always a bummer. I think about this time last year he had the red plate and then lost it to Tomac, so kind of the same scenario. But I would say that in general, I think Roczen, I'm more confident that he's going to stay in this year. Last year I was still just waiting for the thing to fall apart, and I haven't seen it so far. I think he's been solid every race. I mean, it seems like if he gets a bad start, he's not going to come up and win the race, but as long as he gets a decent start, he's a threat to win. And he's been very consistent, which is what you want, and if you want to stay in the title fight, for sure. Behind him, I had a great night for some other guys like Justin Hill. Justin Hill looked great. I think he got fifth, which he probably should have had fourth. I think he got passed at the very end there, and really maybe the best. Even the fifth might be his best finish ever. I don't think he's ever got a fifth before, but fourth would have been really great. He looked awesome. His brother Josh was at the race, which blew my mind. I was like, what the hell? I saw him in practice. He looked like a girl out there. His hair was so long, and he was really impressive. I think he got third or fourth in his heat, and maybe 12th or 10th in the main, which I don't expect him to win. I think he hadn't raced a 250 event since like 2007, so pretty impressive. The guy's clearly got monster talent. pretty amazing. You can come out of, basically come out of retirement after 4 or 5 years and just run with the kids. So very impressive night for the Hills. Great night for MCR. Mookie was up front for a long time. Mookie was impressive. He had me thinking maybe he'd get a podium early on. I was like, oh man, he's going to do it. But in the end, the guys kind of got him. But still, put the Honda up front on TV. Got a lot of publicity for MCR, so it's good for them. Overall, I'd say, that my takeaway of the 450 class was the racing itself was only I mean, I'm not a huge Eli Tomac fan. I'll put that out there right now. I'm pleased that it's a great title fight. In the end, I hope he's not the one that wins, but good night for him. Congratulations. Kudos to him. He rode great. Pressured AC. You kind of felt like it was inevitable, though. I mean, when he was behind him, I was like, at no point did I think AC was going to hold him off. If it had been Cooper Webb or somebody else back there, maybe, but I figured Eli, when he gets his hook in you, he rarely do people get away. So it was kind of an inevitable deal, but good night for Kawasaki for sure. Another thing to mention, Brock Tickle. I love the looks of his bike. It kind of reminded me of Buddy Antonez's 91 Suzuki. I like the... It's funny, I hated the white Suzukis back then when they did that, but it looked good last night. I thought the white with the yellow and everything, from on TV you couldn't see the St. Jude graphics really, but from a distance I thought it really made the bike pop and look good. Great look, and good night for him. He looked, racing in his heat race and stuff. He didn't look like he'd been off 2 years. I mean, he didn't get a great finish. I think he's maybe right in just outside the top 10, I think. But overall, he made the main. I mean, geez, you'd be worried you wouldn't make the main after all that time. It wasn't like Brock Tickle was the, Ricky Carmichael to begin with. So good night for JGR. They didn't have their rider explode into a cloud of dust like normally happens, so it's a good night for them. Got him on TV. Got a lot of press, actually. Got a lot more press out of it. I think, talking to Brock and stuff, it was a good move for Jeremy and them to put him on there. So, and I think the whole suspension, I don't know what he was on. I don't know the supplement. I don't know if it was some BS that was in a drink he drank or what knows. I honestly, me personally, I don't think Brock was trying to cheat really, but who knows? I think these draconian penalties are just ridiculous, and we need to get that shit out of here. But that said, I was glad to see him back at the races. In the 250 class, I thought I was just amazed to see Jeremy Martin get the top spot in practice. I thought that was really impressive. Amazing story. Honest to God, if I burst a vertebrae in my back and had to go through back surgeries, there is no way I'm going back out there. So impressed. I'm very impressed. Kudos to him to have the cojones to get back out there and race Supercross again. He clearly loves it, or he wouldn't do it. I mean, it's a very dangerous sport. And you look what happened to Doug Henry. He broke his back, and a couple years later, the second time it happened, he's paralyzed in a wheelchair. And that would always be a huge concern to me. And I've had many friends who have had back surgeries, and I don't know anyone who's gone through it and had it been great. My mom's had like 3 back surgeries, and she still is in terrible pain and stuff. So anytime they're futzing around with your back, it's terrifying. And kudos to him to come back and do so well. I didn't expect him to win in the race, in the main. But to get a third was really impressive. I mean, geez, that's awesome. Jeremy he's never been the best Supercross guy. He was great outdoors, but even when he was, on Star Yamahas, he was always, hell, I remember he didn't even qualify a couple times at the beginning of his career. So to come out there, have number 1 in qualifying, get a podium, dude, that's like amazing. So good for him. Great race. Think about this. He's already done way better than his brother has done, and his brother wasn't off for 2 years with a broken back. So think about that one. That's pretty tough. So in any case, good ride for Jeremy. I think his shift gear was awesome. The shift gear that the Geico guys ran was by far my favorite gear of the night. Way better. If you're rating wins on gear, the Geico Honda guys won the night, in my opinion. Shane McElrath won the actual event, but that Fast Boy stuff is, in my opinion. Like I know there's some people who dig it. I didn't like it in 91. I didn't like it when Emick had it in 91. I was like, what the hell is that? And I don't like it today. I guess it's kind of a little bit of a retro cool design, but it's just not my cup of tea. I think the shift stuff was way better. Chase Sexton, who ended up getting second. Actually, very impressed with that. I got to be honest, he kind of backdoored into that title a little bit last year. Kind of felt like he was at no point the fastest guy. If Austin Faulkner doesn't, wad himself up 50 times and finally blow his knee out, there's no way he wins the title. He wasn't the fastest guy. But I've seen that happen before where a guy is, clearly not the fastest guy, but the cards go his way, and then the next year he turns into, the guy. So it wouldn't totally shock me, but I wasn't going into this thinking Sexton was going to be, a real threat to follow by. My pick for this title was McElrath for sure. I would think that he would be the odds-on favorite, but I think he's won 3 out of 4 of these season openers, the last few years, and he hasn't been able to translate that into wins going forward. So it's hard to say whether he's going to be able to keep it together. I think he needs to. I think, pretty sure this is his last year of eligibility no matter what he does. He almost pointed out last year, and he really needs to put something together. He's going to have a decent ride next year. I don't know how many people think that McElrath is a real threat in the 450 class. He's probably a Brock Tickle type that, is solid wingman, solid 2-3 guy. Unfortunately, though, the teams don't run 3 and 4 guys anymore. It's not Factory Honda in 1985. You're not going to get, a Plessinger and a McElrath and a Barsha on Team Yamaha. It just doesn't happen. The budgets aren't there. So I could see him, maybe if he wins this title, taking Plessinger's ride or something, maybe, because Plessinger certainly has underperformed like crazy. So it's possible, but I think he really needs to take advantage of this. He's on what a lot of people would consider to be the best bike, certainly probably the fastest bike, and he needs to capitalize on that and make sure it is a title season for him for sure if he wants to get a good ride for next year. Overall, though, I think we're looking at a great title fight. I think the 250s are typically one of the most exciting classes, and I don't expect any of these guys to go on a run and just smoke everybody. I certainly hope that going forward we see a lot more of that action up front. Next week's race, really looking forward to it. It's supposed to be the second of the Triple Crowns. I always enjoy the Triple Crowns because you get a lot of kind of outlier events or outlier results that could really mix things up next week. I certainly hope that Kenny and Cooper up front get some better starts next week, and we see, maybe 3 different winners for an exciting overall or something. Dallas, always a pretty good track too. Great stadium. If you've never been to Dallas, it's a fun place to watch. The track is cool. I mean, the stadium's really cool. It's definitely a neat place, and that giant screen is cool. You can always have a good view no matter where you're at. So I definitely recommend going if you're in the area. So in any case, this has been Tony Blazer with a look back at last week's race. I'd love to know your thoughts on the event. Let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on Twitter and Instagram as well. My handle there is @TonyBlazer, which is TonyBlazer. And until we meet again, this has been Blazer. Peace.